Welcome welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And it would not be, it could not be, we could not traverse the Seahawks multiverse without the protector of that darn multiverse, and that is Mr. Phil Leidick. Boys, I have carried the energy, the good vibes from last week and saying we're going to beat the 49ers. And as this week ticks on, I am telling you right now, we are walking away with a W at Lumen Field. We are going to beat the Cardinals, and we're going to talk about it. Brandon, you first. Do you feel the same energy? What do you think of this as we get going?
Let the good vibes continue, because Clinton, it was your vibes that helped us pull out the win this past week. And we're going to need that moving forward, especially now that we're all, as fans, moving back into the Seahawks can make the playoffs space.
I love it. And maybe it's delusional. Maybe it's Pollyanna-esque. Or maybe it's just centered squarely in realism that we love what we've seen in the last two games from our defense, and we got enough of an offense. We're going to talk about it all. Mr. Phil, how are you feeling after we finally get that big W versus the 49ers, and then back-to-back, belly-to-belly, we got the Cardinals coming to town? How you doing, bud?
Well, I was glad you were right, of course, Clinton, that we beat them. I think you were one of the few that kind of expected it, it seemed. I knew we could. We had it in us, but I knew the Niners had it in them to make the wrong plays at the right time for us. I just didn't expect it, and so I'm very happy. It's super fun when you win unexpectedly, and so that was nice. That we really need to have a good streak going, though, to accomplish what Brandon's talking about. We kind of need to be at the Cardinals both times. And then the Jets are like that game that you got to have. So we got to get a roll going here. So hopefully your good vibes turn into lots of momentum and excitement and all kinds of people trying to find room on the train here by the time we get to Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. And then Brandon, I think we got to tell folks if we're feeling good vibes and we want to go maybe do a little something with those vibes and parlay them into something else, what could people go do as one of our partners would like them to?
Yes, if you think that the Seahawks can go on a streak just like maybe the Cardinals are coming off of with their 4-0 streak coming into this game, you could head on over to mybookie.ag, use the promo code HAWKRA, HAWKRA, and that gives you a 100% deposit match, and you can use it on things like betting on win streaks for our Seahawks. And so, yeah, head on over to mybookie.
Perfect. Use that promo code HAWKRA. And of course, if folks are here on the Seahawkers podcast network, or if you're listening on audio on For the HAWKRA, all good. What we do ask is, hey, it is huge if you click like, and if you are not subscribed yet, to hit subscribe. They're free, they're simple, and it just gives such a boost. We want to get to 5,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the regular season. I'll put the emphasis on regular season because I've got aspirations. So go ahead, go out there on youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Please do subscribe. And if you're listening, make sure you're liking. And of course, share this with 1212s. That's got to be the biggest thing. One last thing before I pass it back to you, Mr. Phil. Talked to Wilson Kahn from PNW Prop Stars last night. He and I were conversing. We are going to go to that Jets game. So if there's other flockers out there, that if you're going to head to East Rutherford and go watch Seahawks at Jets, just hit me up at Clinton Bond on Twitter, or, whatever. Just find me somehow, some way. Go to Twitter. Let me know you're coming, or in the Discord, if you're a flocker, let us know. And any East Coast flockers, we would love to get together with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Mr. Phil, I know that you dug into these pesky, consistent, and in ways stubborn Cardinals, and maybe stubborn in a good way for their sake. We're going to do this. What did you find out about these Cardinals, and what do you want to share with the flock?
Well, I went back and watched the whole Jets game. I watched bits and pieces leading up to it. And as Brandon said, they are coming off a 4-game winning streak. Hopefully they're coming off of it, and this is the end of this where it stops. Hopefully this bye week, instead of resting them up to keep going, just kind of gets them rusty. That's because they look pretty sharp. They look all in and really cohesive. I don't know if Brandon can throw it up or whoever has the screen. Maybe it looks like Clinton's trying to find something. Oh, there it is. He found the screen switch. Thank you, Clinton. So watching this game, I couldn't tell you just from this one if it's the Jets just looked horrible or the Cardinals looked good, but the Cardinals looked pretty good against a lot of good teams. So the Jets also look bad. But the defense of the Cardinals, they did good at stopping runs to the edge, something that Jets are decent at, but they couldn't do against the Cards. The corners look very physical, not only in the run game, but in the passing game. Quite handsy. They had quite a few penalties. Obviously didn't amount to a lot of points because, well, the Jets have 6 of those. But I would expect the Cardinals corners to get some penalties as well in this game. Their pass rush looked pretty weak early, but as they got the lead, they really looked a lot stronger. So I don't know if they were focusing on the run until they got the lead, kind of like our old Seahawks did in the early 2000s. Lots of too high, but they did kind of do some combo with man on the outside. So quite a bit of man I saw, especially, Rodgers likes to go 5 wide, so they manned up with that. And then, of course, you only have 1 safety left. But Budda Baker is a serious problem. He leads all DBs in tackling. It seems like he's everywhere all the time. Wherever the ball is, you'll find Budda Baker. The running backs were left open in the passing game. That could be a number of things. I'm not really sure, but Rodgers didn't always want it, but when he did, it seemed like he was open a lot. On offense, that is wrong. They are not second by DVOA. That's somehow that came back from a previous game. Sorry about
Scared
that.
me there.
Yeah, that's not correct. DVOA locked me out, so I don't have the access to them. I just know the Cards are 12th overall. I would have to spend extra Phil cash to find out all the other details I used to. Murray rolls out like lightning. Like when they do rollouts, he's so crazy fast as he rolls out, but he was also incredibly accurate from the pocket. You need to, as I put at the end, you got to get pressure on him, and then you got to be aware, obviously, he can leak out. But you can't just let him stand there and kill you. And when he rolls, expect it to be quick. Connor is their everything dude. He's amazing in the pass game, amazing blocking for pass pro, really good runner at finding the openings. Harrison Jr., obviously a rookie up-and-comer, kind of has an up-and-down game, as you'd expect from a highly talented rookie. They're fantastic in the red zone, opposite to the Niners that we've seen. When they get down there, they get their points. McBride, super reliable tight end, and they're raving about how good he is after the catch. He's going to be a problem. Anything else you guys have noticed about the Cardinals? They look pretty good.
Their offense looks good. Their defense, I still have questions about. And going off of the last 2 games, I feel like is a little bit tougher to do because they played the Jets and before that they played the Bears.
Yeah.
And they're 2 franchises in disarray. And they took advantage of it, which is a thing that good teams do. But I don't know if I'm ready to believe that they're an actual good team.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest takeaway watching back a little bit and then spending some time listening to just different Arizona podcasts, which some were like some of them were watching paint dry, but that's okay. I did it for you, Flock. I did it for you. We all can't be entertaining after all. What can we say? With that though, Kyler Murray's completion percentage is really interesting this year, and there's a lot of fluctuation. The Jets game is kind of like throw it out, 91%. Okay. That's incredible, but kind of throw it out. Goff-like against us. But a lot of times, he's right around 70% for the year, but he's got these wild fluctuations, like 81 one game, 59. So it's just this, is there a pattern? Is there something to discern there? And I've got a couple things in the chamber that I'll save for the, as we get into the questions that I'll lay out reasons that I think it might be. So, but it'd be pretty cool. Like 15 minutes into the game, is he accurate? Is he a little off his mark? Are we causing him? Can he do what Brock Purdy did, which is like save the game by throwing super tight window things to Juwan Jennings over and over and over again while on the move? Maybe, but that was like hero ball stuff that kept the Niners in that game, in my opinion. Can Kyler do that? I don't know, Mr. Phil. That's gonna be a big question mark.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our theme. We have 2 birds meeting for the first time. Fly or fail is the theme. Will one of these teams really, the Cardinals just need to keep soaring. Will the Seahawks, as they're leaving ground, will we begin to soar? I did have to start out with a couple of, Tom Petty songs. We have Learning to Fly and Free Fallin'. Fly away, fall over, fly high, or fall down. We are headed to the 11th Seahawk game, week 12, but it's the 11th game, which means Brandon picks first on fly or fail. Where do you want to go, Brandon?
Oh boy, I want to go with Toad the Wet Sprocket, fall down.
I almost expected we're going to get Brandon on the Toad the Wet Sprocket song when I wrote that there. What if you share a few of your goals that you have for specific downs in this game? You know, there's first, second, third, and fourth down in every game. You could go a lot of places with this, Brandon. What would you like? Some goals you have for some of the downs of football?
Yeah, this one might be a little counterintuitive, just based off of some previous comments and what we've seen from the offense to this point this season, because I think that, and if you listen to the flagship show this week with Adam and I, we talked a little bit about Mike Sando of former Seahawks reporter did a story this week on the potential shift of, and maybe if Coach Macdonald had a little bit of a say to Ryan Grubb in the amount of time that they spent under center, because he portrayed it as some drastic increase when they were under center 19 times out of 60 some snaps this last game, which it was high, especially when they were down to 4, 6, 8 in previous games. So it's not that much of a shift, and they actually ran a lot. They only passed from under center one time in the second half against the Niners. And so I kind of want to avoid that being a tell, although I want the Cardinals to believe it's a tell. And so I want them to believe the fact that there is this shift going on, and I want our Seahawks to be passing from under center on early downs in this game against the Cardinals, because I think they can take advantage of these Cardinals defensive backs. You brought up Budda Baker. I feel like when it comes to this Cardinals defense, it's Budda Baker and that's it. So early down, attacking the corners with play action passes.
Budda Baker and the guys. Get Budda to suck in on play action and dump it over. I kind of like that. Early downs, play action. Clinton, how about you? Some of your goals that you have for our team, offense or defense, on some downs.
Yeah, very creative question. And want to give Brandon a little props too. It's like when Balboa trains to go box righty. I forget which one that is. That might be the third one, with the second time he fights Clubber Lang. But Mickey's like, you got to switch it up. Like, go out there, and he ends up relearning how to box right-handed, and then he turns the switch. So I kind of like that little okey doke that you're getting at there, Brandon, because hey, if it worked for Balboa, and if I could change and you could change, everybody can change, right? So the thing for me, guys, is I talked about this on 3 and 3 Out, and I pulled the stat from Jacob Gibbs from CBS Fantasy Football, who is a really good follow. I think it's like GA Gibbs, something like that. But anyway, Jacob Gibbs, go find him on Twitter. He does a lot of deeper analysis. Now, it, of course, looks at fantasy, but it's very, very relevant to real life. And the big thing was JSN's first read target percentage without DK in week 9 was 42%. And then JSN's first read on the second half of last week with DK went back to 42%. But half one, it was only 12%. And DK was 50%. So what do I want to see very, very specifically is I want to see JSN treated as the go-to out of the gate. Don't wait for it. And also, what does that mean? You're talking about downs. Do it on first down. And why? Because these are 6-yard digs, little ins, just things where little screen passes that were very effective last week, and higher percentage, complementary to the run game, and things where if Geno has even half a second, he's super accurate with them. So I like all that. So if we can get ahead of the sticks and put ourselves into 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2, and JSN's racking up receptions on first down, I think that's bad news for the Cardinals. And I expect to see it. If we don't see it, throw up a flare, because there's really no reason not to. Teams can't stop it at this point. Very difficult guy to stop.
Fusing your goals and desires, we want some play action, early downs, and Clinton wants them specifically to JSN as at least the first read. Any goals for the defense on any particular downs? Keep up the good third down work.
First down sacks. That's all I want.
First down sacks. I'll take it.
At least, but that's going to be difficult because Kyler has not been sacked a lot. The offensive line doesn't give up a ton of sacks. But if you're asking me what I want, Phil, that's what I want.
There we go. Love
I'll
it.
take that. Clinton, you're next. Where are we going to fly or fail now?
Yeah, man. Look, you put up 2 petties at the top of the box there. I'm going to choose the one that I think is actually the superior song. And this might shock the world, but I think Learn to Fly is a better song. So let's go Learn to Fly. Maybe Ain't Got Wings. Let's see what you got there, dude. Let's rock and roll.
Okay. What if our young DBs can keep proving their growth? How are they going to fare against Kyler's targets in this particular matchup? We got Job coming on, Bryant coming on, and really Reek's starting to become a solid vet even in this particular year. And we already know Love is a great veteran, but what if our young DBs can prove their growth? How do you expect them to fare?
I expect them to fare well. And the reason being is, and I'll get into some specifics as to how it might play out, but why do I expect it? Because the Rams wide receiving core is better than the Cardinals, and the 49ers receiving core, even without Kittle, I think is still superior than the Cardinals. And, that's not taking anything away from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson and Dorchon Golf. That's some okay. Yeah. I mean, Trey McBride's a different horse of a different animal. They're a different beast, right? He's really good, right? So Trey McBride's very, very good. But we're talking about, I'm looking at our DBs, and maybe that's some nickel play, but that blends into the linebacker room also. So maybe my mind's sticking to the outside in the slot a little bit to answer this. But I think they're going to do very well. And I hinted at it at the preamble there saying, can Murray fit the ball in the way that Purdy did over and over to Jennings when there was nothing there? Like, they were very well covered. It was just, what do you do in that situation? You tip your hat, you get back up and play the next down, because you can't defend it without holding the guy, right? Or interfering. And like Tariq did well and Woolen did well, but they still completed those passes because it was well executed. Okay. I don't think Murray is going to have the same success Purdy did in some of those 3rd and longs or just 2nd and longs that Jennings was eating things up. Specifically, very quickly, Seattle is currently running press coverage 5th most in the league. Might not feel like that, but stats are the stats. 5th most in the league. The big thing is Marvin Harrison right now is 2nd in the league in beating press coverage. So rubber meets the road. The only other dude ahead of him is Nico Collins. And Nico's been out for a couple of weeks, but earlier in the year, it's like, you can't stop Nico Collins. Good luck. If you zone him, he's Justin Jefferson. If you press him, he's Randy Moss. Okay. Pick your poison. Harrison's been worse against zones and better against press. We're going to press.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to watch that on the sideline. Is that Tariq? Is it 1-to-1? Is it Woolen? I don't know, but that's the matchup for sure, especially when we're up pressing. Brandon, one of the first in for 3 and 3 out was Tariq coming to the line on 3rd down and pressing the crap out of Jennings and keeping him short by a half a yard. First possession, they got to punt the ball. That's going to be a really cool matchup to watch, guys.
A lot of great nuggets in there, Clinton. I especially like 2 times you mentioned Tariq and Woolen. So him being 2 guys on the field, that's a fantastic play by Coach Mike.
Did I talk about Jordan? Just wait for Jordan Love to come in. Yeah.
And Coach Macdonald, both Coach Macdonald and Coach Mike. I think they should include Reek and Woolen to shut down both sides. But I love the nugget on Harrison.
Hysterical.
I didn't realize how good he was against press. And I would have anticipated our press coverage has gone up a ton with this coaching staff versus previous. Brandon, how about you? You got some special moves.
Yeah. Well, with Harrison there, he's faced press coverage before, but he hasn't faced our press coverage. So
Yes.
we'll see if that continues. One of the things, and you teased this a little bit when you talked to Clinton about his answer. I don't know if I am as concerned about the receiving group. And so when it comes to our defensive backs, that does include our safeties. And I think that they can provide a lot of help against Mr. Trey McBride, who is the one that I'm most worried about among the pass catchers for this Cardinals team. And you didn't have to face any George Kittle last week, although we saw an awful lot of him on the sideline. Did we see more George Kittle shots because he was on the sideline than if he would have played in the actual game? I'm going to say yes. I don't want to see Trey McBride at all. So I hope that whether it's between Kobe Bryant and with as physical as he's been playing these last couple weeks, and Jordan Love or Julian Love, one of the two. Thanks for putting that in my head, Clinton. I think Julian can, he can provide that extra help over the middle to the linebackers that can help keep Trey McBride from beating us over the middle.
I'd like it if we see McBride a lot the way we see George Kittle and Taylor Swift during games.
Maybe he can just watch from the sideline. Yeah, we can get a lot of McBride sideline shots, right?
FaceTime shots for McBride would be just fine if they're on the sideline. I have no problem with that. But yes, he's my big concern, other than, obviously Connor and Kyler. So we have concluded with learning to fly. We have 4 choices left, Brandon.
Let's go back down to the bottom. I'm working my way up. Fly high.
Fly high. That almost says a song.
There are plenty of songs named Fly High, but I don't know if there's a famous one.
What if both, Brandon, of these quarterbacks keep flying high in this particular matchup? Is there a strategy for either side you think would tilt the advantage our way? You want to go the Geno side, the Kyler side? What strategy are you hoping for regarding these guys?
Yeah, both of these quarterbacks are playing well. I think Kyler more so coming into this matchup, just because it's almost every season where we see him have these great starts to the year, and it kind of tails off. And I don't know if that's if it's a function of Cliff Kingsbury, because one of the things I think we're kind of seeing Jaden Daniels kind of slip a little bit now going into the second half, and with Kingsbury now in Washington, is that a function of the Kingsbury offense and teams figuring it out toward the middle of the season? Can Kyler, or is it Kyler Murray? And I don't know if that's going to continue, but I would say that if I'm the Cardinals defense and I'm wanting to contain Geno, I'm curious if they're going to be able to do this, though, because I look at this defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, Phil, and I see their guy with the leading pressure rate. Do you want any guesses as to who has the most pressures among Arizona Cardinals defensive linemen?
Is it number 48?
It is not number 48.
No.
It is number 91. LJ Collier.
Oh no, I did not see that coming.
LJ Collier has the most pressures of any Cardinals defensive lineman. I don't think that bodes well for them. And so they're going to have to find a way, even especially with the offensive line now starting to look better. I think that we can hold up against this Cardinals pass rush. And so if there's a strategy that Geno Smith can take, it would just be avoid Budda Baker.
Okay. Throw the ball. It sounds like Brandon's all in on throw the ball against the Cardinals. I get the feeling.
I think there's going to be time. I just with our wide receivers, with their defense, I think it's a little bit fraudulent on their defensive side. That just because they allowed 6 points to the Jets, who are a dumpster fire, I'm not ready to believe it's a good defense.
Clinton, do you have some strategies on either side for or against these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'll stick with how we could help ourselves on offense. And Brandon also alluded earlier about hey, during the Bears and Jets run, they have created pressure, the Arizona defense. They had 31 pressures against Caleb Williams. That's an insane amount of pressures. Now we're healing, right? So meaning Olu looked really good in his first game. Abe looked to be, 85, 90% of Abe week one, right back in it. That's darn good. We still have some things that hurt us, periodically, but it was a much smoother offensive line. And hopefully that just continues. What I would love to do and see is look, I look at this. They're a bunch of scrappy, happy hero pups with Arizona. And I don't want to belittle them because they're winning. They've beaten good teams. Their wins are good. They barely lost to the Bills. They barely lost to the Lions. They beat the snot out of the Rams. They beat the Chargers. But still, it's a
The
win's a win.
Chargers are good. These are good
We
teams.
barely beat, we barely beat the Niners, right? But it was a win. They barely beat the Niners too. They won. But you look at Browning as their linebacker, who we already played this year, right? With Denver, he started with Denver, and is Kaiser White, and just their linebacking core in general, and Zaven Collins, right? It's okay, but I think we could expose them. And for me, this is like, look, I've been waiting for more K9 out of the backfield receiving the ball, and I think if we have time, plus the willingness to go create space with K9, which I still believe is what Grubb wants to do, we could take advantage of that here. And just like little leaks, little things to the flat. Okay. And by the way, that means Geno goes through his progression. It's like read 1, read 2, read 3. There's enough time. You could go watch the Bills, man. Every other play for the Bills, if Allen doesn't have it, well, there's two things. He either takes off with the ball and gets a bajillion yards running. He either fires it because it's there. He makes his progression. And if he doesn't, it's something horizontal with good momentum upfield to guys like Shakir or James Cook. They are so good at that. A little bit of that adoption, maybe a couple more touches for K9 receiving the ball. I think that's a winning strategy this week, guys.
I think that's a great call because it's going to be there. Every time I watch the Cardinals, the running backs are open. The running backs are open if you get
exactly.
Okay. Well, we've now taken Fly High away, so we're down to 3, Clinton.
I'm going to take the second best Tom Petty song on this board. Let's do it.
Not of all of his songs, but on this board.
Yeah. On this board. By the way, I want to say I really appreciate your correct use of the apostrophe in both of the song titles. That doesn't go unnoticed, Phil. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Even though I typoed my main title for the whole show, but I'm really having trouble with my keyboard doing what my brain wants it to do.
Phil, anyway. This is coming from the guy who called Tariq Woolen 2 different people. So don't worry about it, my man. It's okay.
And at least you didn't have to talk about Mr. Love and have the Packers quarterback playing for us again in the backfield this particular game. But that's always a good time. I think that's going to be not just this year or last year. That's going to be a lifetime thing, maybe, Clinton.
Good. I love it. I'll own it.
Let's do some free falling. Speaking of that, what if our free tacklers can fall Connor consistently? How do you expect we do that against these quality run blockers? So now we're going to deal with the other big concern. I think we talked about McBride. What about Mr. Connor? The dude looked good in like every game.
You know why? Because he's really good.
He's really good.
He's a really high quality NFL running back. And it's not just Connor. They got Trey Benson, he's good. He's certainly coming into his own as a rookie. Yeah. And then they got DeMarcado, who's a good third down guy. Pass
DJ Dallas.
Oh, good. Glad we got there. Yeah. So that's fun too.
Yes, they have him.
Yes, it's factual. They have him. So here's the thing. I don't know if there's a magic elixir here because they are going to try and run the ball. They are fairly devout to it. But if you go look at the game logs and you pull up Kyler and James Conner, there's this interesting pattern that emerges, and it's really based on YPC, yards per carry. When Connor's yards per carry is like under 3, it's not like illogical. It makes sense. But when he is, Kyler's attempts go way, way, way up. And when he's like 5 plus, 5.9, stuff like that, Kyler barely throws the ball, throws it 20 times a game. Gannon understands. He's like, if it ain't broke, I am not fixing it. Yeah. So that doesn't answer the question of how. It just gets to the point of they will dial it one way or the other based fully on is Connor being successful. The cool part about that as fans and an audience is we will know. Again, I always look at the first 20 minutes of game clock. So the first 1/3, I think, is truly a nice portion of the game. We'll know right away. Last game, you could look. The game against the Rams, you could feel it and see it. Our run D is different. We talked to Griff about it. We've been talking about it now for a couple of weeks. They're fitting differently. The linebackers are playing much, much better. Rams, Niners, Cardinals all can run the ball. They're, for me, in the same bucket of well above average running the football teams. So I could look at 2 weeks, 8 quarters of high quality run defense. I just expect the same. We also might get a little bit of a break with the weather, that it might be a little bit wet. And that does not help out running backs typically. So no magic answer there, Phil, except for I expect similar results than 8 full quarters against very similar teams, in my opinion.
It's going to be the key factor, right? If we can make Connor have a hard time, force Kyler to have to do things, then anybody's ball game. In fact, I would say if we can make Connor have a hard time, advantage us, like your first 20 minutes you're talking about, your first hockey period of football, that's going to show us, okay, now we have the edge a little bit if we can hold him down. How about you, Brandon? Do you have a way, if that's such a key, as Clinton has clearly laid out, do you have a way that we can stop him? Just keep doing what we're doing? Any thoughts?
I think one of the keys against the Niners, they're very much more a zone running team. If you go back a couple games to the Rams, they're a little 50-50 between zone and gap running. And so I think the way that our defense has to handle that is they have to also combat kind of that more downhill style that the Cardinals run. And so to do that, rather than some of the read and react stuff that I think that Mike Macdonald wants to do with this defense, I think you have to send your linebackers into those gaps early to really tighten them up, because Connor is going to find a way to fall forward. And that's why I think that he has 4.5 yards per attempt. And if you're reading and reacting, he's going to come downhill at you and he's going to pick up those extra yards, and those are going to start to pile up. So I think that I'd like to see them go after, kind of meet him in those holes, rather than waiting for him to find a hole and pick up those extra yards.
I wish it didn't happen. When I watch the Cardinals, it's the main thing I get jealous of. Their blocking is so solid, so cohesive, and Connor's vision is just, if it's not the best in the league, I haven't seen anybody better. He just sees where he should be running. I don't see this crazy athleticism. It's him knowing the opening. So if we are not disciplined, it's going to be a problem. But hopefully we are.
I mean, when it comes to discipline too, Phil, you have to think about the missed tackle part. And he's up at around 50 missed tackles or forced tackles. So if you are meeting him in the hole, you got to be getting him down, because part of that is playing a little bit more aggressive. And if he forces those mixed tackles, then he's picking up explosive runs. And I know that Macdonald really wants to limit those.
Yeah, you got to gang tackle him. Good call on that too.
One other point there too about because we're kind of hinting at their line, or Phil, you're not even hinting at it. Their line's been good. An interesting part will just be that this week they might be getting Jonah Williams back. And if they do it right tackle, he's replacing Kelvin Beachum, and Beacham's been really good. So it's one of those, Williams is supposed to be the starter, supposed to be the more talented guy, and you have a guy in there that's playing high caliber football. So what do you do? So what does that mean for the Seahawks? Maybe it could work out this way. They do replace him, and it's a little, a little addition by subtraction there. It's a degrading of the offensive line. It's not quite as good. Don't know, but something to keep an eye on when they take the field and they start to show the offensive line. Who's out there? Is it Beachum or not? And just remember that if it's not Beachum, if it's Williams, he hasn't played ball in a while. So that'll be cool to watch.
Yeah. I think who cares? They're both probably good. So we need to play good.
I know, but one might be
Beachum is just one of those longtime vets that, I think that you don't have a whole lot of drop off. I mean, that's kind of why you have a guy like that on your team, is that so you can maintain some consistency.
Can we have him?
I'd like to have some of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sound valuable.
Yeah. Well, it would have been more valuable than having Jarrell as your fourth right tackle, but here we are.
Here we are.
2 choices left so far. By the selections, Clinton has been descending and Brandon has been ascending from the bottom. Will you continue this, or are you going to switch it up here, Brandon?
Let's stay consistent and go with fall over.
Fall over. Here we go. What if you share your trenches? We've just been talking about this now, but your trenches expectations for this game. Who gets the edge? And more this time, what areas? Do the Seahawks have the edge in any trench areas? And what do you expect? Not what do you hope for, Brandon?
Yeah, the edge, especially on defense, it goes toward the Seahawks. The way that we've been playing up front, I think we just have more talent than the Cardinals do up front. That is on defense, though. On the offensive side, I'm still a little bit concerned, but fortunately, that talent that going up against lesser talent, it does help out our offensive line. So that one, it may end up being beneficial for our Seahawks too. But I'm just going to say that matchup wise, when it comes to this, I think one of the guys that I'm going to be watching is Derek Hall. And with these, because I would say that in terms of an advantage, the tackles tend to be pretty good for this Arizona Cardinals team. And Boye Mafe, I think he can win his matchups more than he loses. But Derek Hall, I think, is the big question mark for me. And if he can make sure and maintain that edge and keep Kyler from getting outside and extending the play, he's the one that I am the most concerned about. So he's the one I hope that can really show out against this Cardinals offensive line.
Yeah, huge. You can't give Kyler the edge. And so, Clinton, carrying this forward a little bit, is there a side of the ball, like where we're talking about the guys that they go against, where you would give us the edge, like our offensive line versus their defensive line, or all defensive line versus their offensive line, or is it kind of a push, literally?
No, yeah, I think the offensive line, our offensive line versus them, is a bit more of a push because of their lack of. It's kind of like a lack of names, right? It's not like maybe they're coming into their own, but they do not have high caliber talent across their defensive line. It's okay. So leaving that aside, let's call that they're coming down to our level as we start to ascend a bit more with our offensive line. So more of a push there. I think on the defensive side, we have the advantage. And why? Because I don't look at many teams in the league where you could line up Leo and Byron Murphy, and then Hankins as a spell, and then Draymond Jones playing better and being more effective. And then, of course, you got your edge guys, with Mafe and Hall, but really just sticking up the gut and like this, the A gap or over the nose or just in that A gap. Look, there's going to be Leo Williams is a problem for every single team out there because he's a top five defensive tackle. He does it week in, week out. Last week, we're like, hey, it's going to be really cool to see if Pooney, the third round pick for the Niners, can hold up against him. Guess what? Not really.
No.
Just not really. I mean, Leo put him on skates a couple of different times. There's times where he's pulling with momentum and Leo just stands him up and sheds him. So I just think we have a big advantage there. And going back to what Brandon said earlier, if we're playing more of that one high where it's more get up field and just hit your gaps and just kind of own that gap and stay in your lane type thing. I don't think there's many offensive lines that can move these guys. They're highly skilled. Now, it's a good offensive line by the Cardinals, but the advantage, I think, still goes to us. And it's exactly why we saw what we did against the Rams and versus the 49ers. And now Cardinals will be a really good test as well. Those are 3 back-to-back great tests to say, can you hold up in the middle of the field versus what we saw earlier in the year where the answer was just, no, we cannot. So big changes. Can we sustain it? I think we can.
I hope
Just
so.
some numbers to throw out there, Phil, with regard to our defensive line versus theirs. I mentioned LJ Collier having leading the team in pressures with 21. The Seahawks have 5 guys who have more than 21 pressures.
Yeah.
Derek Hall has 27, Leonard Williams 29, Jaron Reed 29, Mafe 29, and Draymond Jones has 30.
Very nice.
So that's really good. Yeah, I'm excited about how our line's coming together like we were hoping for leading into the season. Well, we are left with flyaways. So before we fly away to our What If Superhawks and wishes, we will fly away to this question. What if our, Clinton, great wide receivers can have a day against this meh pass defense? How will Geno's boys find success? You've talked about JSN, how you hope to see him. What kind of areas, what kind of passes, how do you expect us to succeed against them with?
Yeah. So this, I hinted at it or talked about it. Wasn't really a hint with the first question about JSN being the first read target and him being the alpha. I put out on YouTube and then on my Twitter, but the Seahawks podcast YouTube, I asked, hey, what's the biggest key to winning this game? And it was like, limit Connor, limit Murray, get K9 his touches, or treat JSN like wide receiver 1. And the last one, the treat JSN like WR1, is receiving the least votes by a lot. By a lot. I actually think it's the most important part of this game, even more so than limiting Connor, because we could tilt it very quickly. With that, it also opens things up differently, right? So what I would expect is, this is what I expect. I expect the recognition that JSN deserves 9 to 12 targets a game, and a lot of times being the first read. He's open more often, higher probability percentage catches. Cool. And then what I think that does, I think it opens things up. I think this is a game where we get a DK downfield or Lockett. Like we get one of those 40 plus yards, because they've got to recognize and overload and really shift focus to JSN, who's just killing them. And when you do that, all right, we kind of get a little throwback to 2021, and we see some balls going deep, 40 plus yards downfield to Tyler with late separation or DK. And we get a couple of those over on the Cardinals. If we see that mix, guys, a little 1-2 like that, Cardinals are in for a bad day. If we don't, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we try to go back to DK as like the guy we have to feed the ball versus realizing it actually should be inverted at this point.
Love it. And Brandon, I did grab a couple normal basic stats about their pass defense. They're really medium. They're 17th in pass rating against and 18th in yards per attempt. Not to mention they get quite a few penalties, and those aren't included in those particular stats, of course. So what thoughts do you have as we face this mediocre pass defense?
I think this is, again, where we want to see them attack. And I think they can, I like Clinton's idea about going to JSN a little bit early and getting those, easy catches. We've seen his hands be really, really good. And then I also think that, that DK can have a day against him too. So it'll probably be Tyler Lockett that'll show up against this Cardinals team, because, he's had a couple of easy weeks and he just went over 13,000 yards between receiving and all-purpose yards with his punt and kick returns. So, hey, how about we continue to feed Tyler, and that way we can maybe get him past Steve Largent in terms of his all-purpose yards here by the end of the season. That would be fun.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome.
He's only 400 away, Phil, from Steve Largent's all-purpose yards mark with the Seahawks.
That'll be a happy, sad day. Happy, sad day. Largent, my boyhood hero.
But he'll still have all the receiving records. Yeah. It's just, you give Tyler a little bit of boost by including the punt and kick return yards.
Yeah. And I love how Lockett Lockett gets everything out of every ounce of his body to be successful. And Jigba's becoming that as well. I feel like he catches the ball the best possible way versus Metcalf physically dominates. I was bummed that one sideline throw. I felt like if Metcalf had caught it properly rather than spinning around awkwardly, he could have been gone, but he just made a weird choice on how he caught it. I feel like Jax always catches it properly and he's almost always open. So as Grubb sees that he's almost always open, I think he's going to be very tough for teams to deal with. Let's go to our From the Flock as we move to a different part of the show. Their wishes, they put a few in. They had some that very much came true. A lot of our Abe Lucas hopes and dreams that we'd been all these weeks expecting proved correct. Here's some wishes they had this week. Bubble Guts 09 wish that every snap the rest of the season goes straight to Geno's hands.
Love it.
Like that. Designed Pete's Beach House. That EJ4 stops Connor in his tracks. I'd love to see a couple of those plays. He just stands him up. That'd be great. Here's a tough one. Car's hoping for 100 yards rushing from K9. I don't remember the last time we've seen that. It's been Brandon, do you remember how long it's been since K9's at 100 on the ground?
Gosh, I don't think he's done it this season. It's always been, you have to combine the two.
What the first game, Denver? Did he have over 100?
I don't think so.
I know he had a good game, but I don't remember, how good. But it's been 84 years, guys. Long time.
84 years.
JSN Jiggy with it.
What's Denver? Look at you.
He got it. Game 1.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And you
Stuck
know
on
who it was, who the last team was that he did before Denver?
Denver. No, just kidding.
Got to go back to last season.
Yeah.
Week
yeah.
6, Arizona
6.
Cardinals,
Yeah.
105
Ooh.
yards.
Maybe Carcar's got something.
Love it.
JSN Jiggy with it wants us to get 50 points. That's been a while since we've done that, but we have done it against the Cardinals. And Josh wanted to mark his win down here. The wish came true about Lucas starts and helps the O-line. Absolutely true. His wish, the O-line is able to get the run protection, and he probably means some push and blocking going, so we can have a 100-yard rushing game. And so Josh is fine with any way we get 100 yards, whether that combines Charbonnet's 3 yards and Geno's 20. But he just wants 100 yards on the ground, period. Carcar wants 100 from K9. I don't think we had any wishes come true from Adam or Clinton last week.
Wait, didn't I hit one again? I think like 2 weeks in a row.
Geno to get 3 touchdowns running or throwing.
That was last week?
Because it's the only time Adam was ever on here, and so I know this one.
that last touchdown felt like 3, though.
Yeah,
That's true. It meant like 3.
Yeah.
Boy, I think I just do too many shows because I could have sworn I had something. I say a lot of things, right? So sometimes they're wrong. So that's fine.
The week for the Jason Meyer pick, no doubt about that. He was a hero.
Yeah, he was.
And then K9 60 on the ground was what Adam was hoping for. That didn't happen, thankfully, nor did Adam's prediction happen properly. We'll get to that. The what if Super Hawk. Brandon, you will go first for this game.
All right. Well, my what if Super Hawk this week. Hey, if Adam is taking 60 last week with Kenneth Walker, I'm going to increase the ante and I'm going to go with 80 rushing yards for Kenneth Walker. And now that I look at his past history against the Cardinals, I think this might be likely, because if he finishes with 80 rushing yards against the Arizona Cardinals, that would be, well, if you look at his last 4 games against the Cardinals, last time he faced him, it was 78, which was his low of Cardinals games. But before that, 105 yards, 114 yards, 109 yards.
How about that?
K9 likes rushing against this Cardinals defense. Let's get him 80 plus.
And when you say last 4, you mean his only 4, probably.
His only 4, because that's how many times he's rushed against them in his career.
I do want to ask Brandon for the stats purposes too. How many attempts in all those games? Because last week he only had 14, and I think he needs more than that. But how many attempts in those games?
17 for 78, 26 for 105, 29 for 114.
Wow. You nailed that, Clinton.
And 21 for 97.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
it's
not a lot of yards per carry.
Not necessarily efficiency. It's just the willingness to run the friggin' ball.
Lots of
with your best running back, by the way. So, and not worry that he's going to burn out or any of that crap. Just give the guy the ball. He's so much better.
Yeah. I'll take 6. I'll take 14 attempts for 6 yards a carry, but he'd still be short, wouldn't he? Yeah. Yeah. We got to get more than 14.
Yeah. He needs 18 plus.
Okay.
60 yards for Kenneth Walker.
Because your confidence in his attempts is not there, I can tell.
Just like Adam last week.
No takesy backsies here, man. You can't bring it back.
Give me a break. It was a joke.
I know. Big game breaker. What the K9 game breaker? That's what I want.
Yes.
Clinton, what's your what if Super Hawk for this matchup?
It's a little bit of parlay, boys. I want Julian Love, and yes, Julian Love.
Oh,
I want him. I know, right? I got it. Yeah, blind squirrel. I want him to cause a turnover. So he could be the person who forces a fumble, recovers a fumble, or intercepts a ball, right? And I'm parlaying this because I don't care. I want him to also be part of why Trey McBride stays under 50 yards on the day, which is hard.
That's
because
really tough. Yeah.
He's a yak monster and he gets the ball a lot. So, hey, I'm going big. I want a turnover, and he's chipping in that McBride's under 50 yards. You know why? Because if we do that, we're going to win.
Remember when you guys got all your wishes way back when we were 3-0, and then I don't know if you guys got more greedy on your wishes or the Seahawks just got worse, probably a little bit of both, but
yeah.
And all of a sudden we don't get any wishes anymore. So let's get back to getting those wishes. I would love a Julian Love cause. I hope Reek Woolen No, I said that wrong. Reek and Woolen both caught the turnover in this game. That'd be great.
That'd be really cool.
Okay, so
If you had to pick, who gets it first?
Reek or Woolen?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. That's a tough one. He's playing.
They're both so good.
Both are playing really good. Like it's
Really
almost like
good.
there's two of them on the field. They're so good.
Yeah, almost.
Clinton is catching up thanks to Brandon's longtime buddy Adam filling in and picking the Winers to win last week, or predicting them to win. Clinton was the guy that picked the Hawks, so that was a pretty easy score, easy way to tell. Let's get your game prediction, the score, and the winner, Brandon.
All right. I think that this is going to be a little bit more like the game against the Falcons. I think we're going to win by more than one score. So I will say Seahawks 29 to the Cardinals 20.
A little more than one score, and it couldn't be littler. 29-20. 29-20. I like it, though. A two-score win sounds fun. Brandon, Clinton, how about you?
I like that. I think it's a little tighter, and I wrote this down. I'm not Price is right in you here, Brandon, but I had this previously. I think overall, by the way, the over-under is like 48 in the game. So for you to call for 29-20 is kind of like right where Vegas sees it, which is interesting. I think this game goes under in general, and we see more of what we've seen the last few weeks. I see 23-17 Seahawks, close game, nail biter, field goals matter. And, we get some sort of defensive stop at the right time. Not saying last play of the game type thing, but some big defensive stop in the fourth quarter to kind of squash it and put it away. Victory formation at home. We win by 6.
I love it. It's wild. A lot of things can happen. I feel like this game could definitely go any number of ways. Big moments are going to be huge. Luck will be huge. Success in just the big spots of who gets the ball is going to be massive for this one for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything else on this game? We had a long show, didn't we?
It was fun,
good
though.
show. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. No, I don't have anything else in this game. I will tell everybody I'm traveling again. I'll be in Florida. And if you paid attention or heard last time, I'm like 0-4 when I go to this very awesome sports bar, right basically a half a mile from where we stay in Florida. And I am not going to that sports bar. I'm not doing it. I don't care. There's another one. It's across a little bridge. There's Uber. My wife will drop me off, whatever. I will go. I'll watch the Sunday night game there. I'll go watch Eagles Rams. They had the most ridiculous, so good. It's called a BLT dip. So just imagine like, pita chips and nacho chips, and then like this carafe of ooey gooey BLT dip. It's amazing. I will enjoy that Sunday night while we watch the Eagles hopefully take down the Rams. But I am specifically going to a different sports bar to watch our Hawks because I got to do it for us guys. I got to do it for the Hawk Ride. I can't go over at that bar anymore.
Yeah. Worse food, worse experience, but it's a better experience if we win. There's no real good Seahawks losing experience that I can remember in my lifetime. So.
Nope. Food could be delicious, but we lose. It's bitter. So no.
All right. Let's make sure the Cardinals keep not mattering, because if we lose, they're really going to start to matter, and that's going to throw off my whole feeling about how the NFC West is supposed to work. With that, gentlemen, what if we say
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Beat the weak Cardinal bird. What kind of a bird is that? Cardinals? Come on.
A wheat one.